Another person who I remember mentioning something similar was Ginella Massa. Please don't hate me. I really do want to be a part of the solution. I really do want to be responsible and kind to my neighbors. I really do want to have a beneficial effect here, and I really do want to have a healthy discussion and a hopefully educated and reasonable, intelligent discussion about some of the things that are going on in the world these days. Ginella Massa was anchor woman for the CBC for a while. Significantly, apparently, she was the first anchor woman of color, first Muslim, first anchor woman wearing a hijab in Hollywood, something like that. I don't know what made it significant, but she was the first anchor woman of her type in a major news network. So Ginella Massa was a Afro-Latino colored person who was a woman who wore hijab. And she said, well, she didn't see a lot of people like her when she was in journalism, in school, in journalism, in university, and beginning in journalism. She didn't see a lot of people in journalism that looked like her. Okay, but wait a minute, she's an Afro-Latino colored person wearing hijab who's a woman. How much like her would someone have to be in order for her to feel like there were people like her in Hollywood? That's pretty specific, right? So the idea that there might be a small community of 3 or 4 Afro-Latino women wearing hijab in journalism is, well, it's ludicrous. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. In any country and anywhere in the world, it's not going to happen. Even in Muslim countries, because women are not popularly given a lot of opportunities in journalism. So then if you're Ginella Massa and you're getting into journalism and you don't see people that look like you and you don't feel comfortable in that environment, you're feeling a little anxious about getting into Hollywood, then you have to look for commonality with your people. If you don't see people like you, then you have to look a little deeper. So let's start with, she's a woman in journalism, and so there's got to be other women. Oh, wait a minute, she's a journalist. Let's start with that, right? So she's a journalist getting into journalism. You could have a lot of conversation and a lot of commonality with your comrades in journalism just over the fact that you're journalists, right? Oh, but there's other women in journalism, so that's significant. There's got to be other colored women in journalism. So then you have to make the effort to see commonality so that you can feel comfortable in your environment. So that's up to you to make your way in the world. Much like, the world is not going to make a path to you. You have to make your path in the world. And if you feel like you're going to be getting into a situation where you feel a little uncomfortable, or where you feel like you might be a little bit singled out, a little alone, a little different, then you have to think about that ahead of time. And if you have these anxieties in your chest, that's probably your prejudice against the environment that you plan to go into, holding you back, right? Because if you're feeling that anxiety, that, somewhat of a self-esteem issue, not feeling all that confident in yourself in a certain environment because you feel like you're not like those persons, that's your issue in your head. Nobody can fix that for you. You have to think about that yourself in your head. That's your issue in your head because you haven't even shown up yet, right? They can't be prejudiced against you if you're not even there. So in order to overcome that, you have to plan it ahead. You have to think about where you're going. You have to think about why you're going. You have to think about the people you're going to meet, and you have to think about what you're going to say beforehand. So like in a job interview situation, or like extreme example might be like a lawyer prepping a witness for the witness stand. You know that the opposing counsel is going to try and dig at you. You know that the opposing counsel is going to want to get under your skin and make you annoyed and get a reaction from you. And your lawyer's telling you, you don't want to react to that, right? You don't want to get excited. You want to be calm, and you want to, answer the questions with confidence and directly, and not evade the question, and be honest and upfront and just not react. Well, if you're going to a job interview, obviously you're going to be planning ahead of time, what questions you're going to be asked, how your experience is going to be significant. But if your race is sets you apart, if you feel like your color is going to be an issue, well, then you have to think about that ahead of time too. So if you're an employer, then maybe you want to prick that specifically. Maybe you want to be a little just on purpose, because you want to prick that and see if the interviewee that maybe it's you, see how they're going to react, right? If you've got a company where there's a lot of Italians and Polacks and various different cultures all mixed together, then it's likely going to come up, right? And if you're an employer, then maybe you want to dig at that a little bit just to see how the person reacts, because maybe, if they're going to fly off the handle every second Tuesday just because somebody rubbed them the wrong way, then this is not a good environment for you, right? So you have to choose to think about that ahead of time, how you're going to answer those questions. Well, even if it's like a light social situation, you go into a party, you feel like you're going to be out of place. Why are you going to the party? Who are you going to meet? Why are you going to the party? If you don't want to go to the party, maybe you should just stay home. Maybe that's not your place. But if you do need to go there, if you do want to go there, then you have to think about that ahead of time. And maybe you're going to feel a little uncomfortable, but you're going to say, well, if I plan ahead, maybe, I'm going to start with a conversation about this, and they're going to say that, and they might get upset. That might rub them the wrong way, and they're going to get upset, and they're going to get in my face, and then I'll get upset because they're going to be, talking about my race as well, and then it's going to go all bad. Oh, so maybe you should start with something else, right? Because I've been in those situations too. I've worked in places where it was all Italians and Polacks, and I was a white bread Canadian mangia cake, as they would say in Italian. They kept pricking at my manhood, which is rude, but it's the environment, and I stayed in that job for a while, and it eventually went bad, but not because of that. I eventually moved on, but you have to understand that that's going to happen. And if I were a black person, then I would absolutely call that racism, but it's not. It's just rude. It's just people trying to dig at you. So if it's old Eastern Bloc European on white, is that racism? I guess you could call that racism if you wanted to, but it's not really. But you have to think about those situations ahead of time and plan it out. So I hope you'll join me as we continue looking into the various things that separate us and how we can maybe defeat those obstacles. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Bye.